Wow, I finally figured out how to take a video of myself on my camera on my computer. Yeah, it's epic. It's huge. Yeah, the whole idea is that I want to really start doing stuff on the internet, right? And how do I do it? Look at that messy office. But it's like the real deal, right? I've been toying with this whole idea of telling my story. Crazy ass story. Well, I'm gonna make this my first little take in the raw, just for me, right? Who knows if it ever sees the light of day. But I have this thought of a vlog, a video vlog, and to tell the story of being born, going crazy. Learning how to use a camera. See, I like to look at myself, and the biggest issue that I have is when I look in the thing, I can't look at myself, and the camera's up here. Okay, so we're gonna get ourselves all nice, pretty. Okay. Hi. Oh shit. Oh, by the way, I love smoking my dope. Yeah, we're gonna call this entitled "The Story of My Life." Sitting here on November 7th, 2022. Almost 60 years old. The CEO of a medical practice. 20 plus years in recovery from alcoholism. What a fucking ride it has been. Yeah, so I was born. I always thought, how would I start actually telling the story? I was born. And then my very, very first memory. I don't even know if it's my first memory, but somehow I think it's my first memory. And maybe it's just because the story was told to me and it kind of resonates. Is that my mother came to pick me up from this woman that I've been staying with because she had been hospitalized with cancer. Now, I didn't know any of this. I was 2 years old. I was a little kid. But I didn't know her. According to her, I didn't know who she was. I don't know. I think the next memory I had was living in this, we lived in an apartment in Germany. So not like in the United States. And this is in the 60s. And they're all, the buildings look a certain way. And we lived on the top floor. I remember that. Or at least we walked steps. And we used to take coal from the basement up to burn in our stove. I was born in 1963, by the way. I remember that. And I think then I remember a lot of screaming. My parents argued all the time. A lot of the time. I guess it became a staple in my life. My mother's screaming actually became a staple in my life. I often said as I grew older that I came out screaming. And I kind of been working my entire life not to be that person, that screaming person. But boy, I can still scream. I think we all can. Yeah, so, and then the earliest memories I think were with my parents arguing, my father drunk, my mother screaming, I don't know. I don't have really a lot of really great childhood memories that I can point to. I'm not saying my entire childhood was horrible, but most of it was. And there are reasons for all of that. If there's one thing that you can point to is violence and trauma and what it does to people, and any shape that it comes in, it always has a detrimental effect. But we all know that. Yeah, but to understand the story, I guess maybe do have to talk about it a little bit. Like my mother, for example, she was a survivor of the war, and she was a kid. And she was born in 1933, and the part of Germany that is now Poland is where she was from. And when the war ended, or as the war was ending, the Russians came through and they took the German kids to Auschwitz, and they wanted them to see the smoldering bodies. And my mother was one of those kids. She had never slept another day in her life. I mean, she never really slept through the night, as I could remember anyway. And, I didn't know any of this stuff until later, but I could put things together, and that was such a severe trauma for her that she never recovered from. And she turned into a monster as a result, to me anyway. And then my father, he was the classic alcoholic, right? He came from a traumatized childhood. Everybody did. I found a picture of my grandparents getting married with a swastika on their shoulder. Ooh, Nazis, shit. So yeah, I came out of that, spawned from that, and yeah. Then so those two met and created me, and I was born May 8th, 1963. And my earliest memories were of being beaten and being violated, and in all sorts of ways that anybody could be violated. Certainly turned into an alcoholic myself as a result later. I don't know if that was the result, but it's just, it just perpetuates. You can kind of see the crazy, and then you just try to find a way. But, all the classical things they tell you when you come from an abused childhood, you try to create your own family at a very, very young age and have children early. And I did. I had a son at age 17 or 18. Yeah, 17, 18. And the violence, that I came from, I ended up stopping with him. It's really, really hard to try to tell you a story because my brain is going all over the place. There are so many details, and I wonder if anybody would give a shit to hear any of them, to be quite frankly honest, because I think some of them were just so horrendously horrible. But somehow, I guess I pushed through them all, right? And like I said, I became an alcoholic. I moved to the United States in 1982. My first ex-husband was, of course, a violent beater. How could he not be? Because that's what you do. You pick that which you see. Even though my parents ended up divorcing, my father immigrated to Canada. And I didn't see him again until I was 24, 25, something like that. I grew up with my mother, who was extremely violent towards me, oftentimes under the guise of trying to save me, wanted me to be good in school. Of course, I was horrible in school as a result. Sucked at school. Hated it. Really dropped out, more or less. Got pregnant. Yeah, that thing. And wounded, right? Always seeking, always searching. And in the early days, I really wanted for some guy to take care of me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get married. And he's going to save my ass. By the way, this is about as al natural as my ass gets, right? I don't even have any jewelry on. Rarely ever. And if, depending on how well I like this, I may fucking post it. I don't know. Anyway, in the raw, we shall call it. Rambling stories of moi. Anyway, so yeah. Where was it? it wasn't all bad. Early on, I had to become a survivor. You kind of have to. So anyway, so my mother got divorced from my father. Boy, how many anyways? Somebody needs to edit this shit for real. Or maybe not. Again, we call it in the raw. Rambling. My parents divorced. My father left. She had me by herself. She worked all the time. I became a latchkey kid. I was in kindergarten for a little bit, but then I ended up not being there for whatever reason, and I had to walk to school. And I was an attention seeker early on. Any attention was better than no attention. Like, I was always on time for school. I was always followed the rules. And then the kids that didn't follow the rules, or the kids that were late, everybody would like boo at them. So I was purposely late. Later, that was explained to me that I wanted attention. Any attention was good attention. Crazy shit. That was in therapy many years later. I've learned through that. Things you do as a child. And my mother became very violent. She was a very good student in school herself, and I just kind of wasn't. And she was very physically abusive, mentally, physically abusive. And there was an incident where I couldn't read the word bow. And well, that's weird. Haha. So I don't know if this camera is going, but my screen just went dark. That is weird. Oh, come on. I can't even log into my own screen. Okay, this is fun. Why is that? Because I can't see. Oh! Well, that was fun. I can't believe my screen went dark. How can my screen go dark when I'm actually recording something? Okay, I'm not going to do this. I thought I was, but that just kind of screwed me up. But you know what? It was a nice little start. I'll play it back, see where I'm at. I'll put myself together, and I'll tell the story. See ya.